Hello. Welcome back to 5225, 52 Weeks of Loving Movies, week 22, where I'm talking about Kevin Smith movies. But I'm not going to do this one alone. In a 5225 first, I am joined by a special guest, someone who loves Kevin Smith as much as I do. And that person is... lovely, one of my best friends, Stacy Morris.
Hello,
Stacy. How are you today?
I am so good. I'm so excited to be here and talk about Kevin Smith, and I'm so excited to be the first.
Yes,
like a little kid.
Yeah, it's very exciting. This was always intended to just be a solo project weekly, but as I'm going along and I keep moving Kevin Smith, I mentioned it on the show, and you had messaged me. You're like, I know you don't normally have guests, but to which, if you do happen to want to have one, I would love to do Kevin Smith. I was like, oh yeah, I don't. The solo thing is not required. So yeah, and that's one of the first things we ever bonded over was our love of Kevin Smith. So as you can see in the background, people, that's her with Kev and Jay at a con of some sort. She's very excited, as you can see.
Yes.
And what does that one say? That one says, Stacy, I love you.
It says, Stacy, I love you, Kevin Smith.
That's amazing.
The reason he said that he loved me was because I went to the con by myself that day because it was the only day he was going to be there.
Okay.
So.
Nice. Best I ever got at a con was Bruce Campbell called me a bum. which is, I think, just as good, but
I mean, that's a story. That's great. Right. I'd love to be called a bum by Bruce Campbell.
He was. I had gone through and having him sign stuff, and we were talking, and I had mentioned where I worked, and my friend was right behind me, and he came up and was talking to him and asked him, and they came up where he worked, and we worked at the same place, and he was like, and I'm standing over to the side, just kind of waiting, and he points over and he says, so you know that bum over there, and I was like, all right, so I can just leave now. It's not going to get any better than this.
That's how I felt when Rosario Dawson said she liked my hair. I was like, okay, yeah. I'm good. Day's over.
The only thing that's ever topped that was simply just meeting Kevin Conroy.
Oh yeah,
at a con. He is so nice.
We can't start talking about him though because
we could be here forever. Yeah. All right. So, but we're here to talk about someone else, and that is Kevin Smith. Before we get into the movies, let's just kind of talk about basically how we discovered him, what he means to us. For me, I had always kind of known about him, and I'd seen a couple of his movies. But when I started working at the video store when I was 17, I decided I need to watch all of his movies, because that was around when Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back came out too. So I was like, all right, I need to go through and watch all of his movies. And it was real easy once I saw Clerks and was like, this is what I do. I work at a video store. It was real easy. And I was kind of changed from that moment. I talked about it because I covered Clerks on this show, but seeing Clerks kind of changed who I am as a film fan, and kind of who, changed me on a very real level. So he's always meant a lot to me, and I listened to his podcast for a long time. Unfortunately, I was about to say, unfortunately, I'm married. That's not unfortunate. I am married and have kids. And so that kind of stuff has gone to the wayside a little bit. But I used to listen to I used to read and listen and watch everything that he ever touched. So it's he's had a huge effect on me. Tell me about your experience with Kevin Smith.
Well, I'm a little bit older than you, and I discovered him with Clerks. With Clerks, which I don't remember. I didn't see Clerks, like, when did it come out? 92? It was
It
a
came
little
out
bit
in
young.
94.
It was
Made
94.
90,
Okay,
yeah.
because I think I saw it around 94, 95, when I was in my early to mid-teens. And I just loved it. I mean, I was always a film fan, but I didn't watch a lot of, like, indie kind of out of theater stuff that just kind of, gets passed around like Clerks was.
Right.
And I just loved the vibe of it, and that it was just pretty much two people talking in a convenience store for the movie. It taught me what snowballing is, so that was fun. And then
all of us, I think, yeah.
I don't know if I can't remember if I knew who he was right from then or if it took a little bit, but I know by Chasing Amy, I knew it was a Kevin Smith movie, and I went to see it in the theater, and it was Kevin Smith. And, like, from then on, that was the case. So.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, it's hard to say he found his voice there because he clearly had a voice with his first one. But his second movie, Mallrats, was a studio movie. Like, they were like, this is, you get this much money, you make this movie. And then when he got to Chasing Amy, he was like, I just want to make movies with my friends. And they're like, you can't do that. And he was like, well, then you have to give me less money. And and just let me make a movie with my friends. And they're like, okay, fine. And so it kind of that was like where he solidified his voice. Because like I said, he found his voice in the first one, but it was like, this is the kind of movie I make now, and will continue to make it. He has gone through changes in his career, which is kind of the movies that we picked. You and I sat down and we talked about it, like, what movies do we want to do? We kind of want to cover his career, because if we just did his first 5 Askew Universe movies or whatever, that's not really going to encapsulate him as a filmmaker. So we decided to pick some from each little from each of his little phases, and that's kind of what we did. Well, we picked 2 from 2 Askew Universe movies, but they kind of they kind of represent different things in his milieu. But
it's kind of funny because I came to Mallrats much later. I don't somehow I just didn't realize it was Kevin Smith. I just missed it somehow. I don't know, but I ended up coming around to it after I was already a pretty big fan, and that's why I ended up watching it.
Right. I don't remember if I saw Mallrats, like, before I became a fan or after, but I do know that is a lot of people know his movies from that, because it was his first, like, crowd pleaser movie. Like, the first one was a little indie movie, and then that one was like, oh, people are seeing it. Of course, his movies have never really done well in theaters. It's all about home video. So that was kind of the one that especially teenagers were like, oh yeah, this is this is the movie for me. And so that's a lot of people's entry into Kevin Smith's world. But yeah, for me, I think the one that really, definitely the one that really caught me on was Clerks. And then just from there, it's like, okay, well, I guess this is who I am now. All right. So I was about to say something else about Kevin Smith, but I think it's going to be part of the conversation that we're about to have about the first movie. So I'm just going to bring this up. And our first movie is Chasing Amy from 1997. Now this is as we just discussed, it's kind of where he solidified who he is as a filmmaker. It's also, as you mentioned when we were picking the movies, you're like, this is his first grown-up movie. Now, I would say he has about 3 movies that people have called his first grown-up movie, and we're going to cover all 3.
I don't know if after rewatching, I'm not sure if I still have that opinion.
Okay.
We'll get into it.
No, but people thought that at the time. Like, it was at the time, and for a long time, people consider this like, oh, this is his real movie.
It
like,
seems more mature in a
yeah,
lot of ways.
it does seem more mature, and it's still immature in a lot of Kevin Smith ways. But yeah, it definitely feels more mature, and it feels like it feels more to say, you know, this sounds reductive, but it feels more like a real movie than his first two. So
yeah. There's more meat on it.
Right, absolutely. So the thing I was going to mention about Kevin Smith that I think is part of this conversation about this movie is that I see a lot of stuff online, and I always have, about Kevin Smith. You know, there's always discourse about his films and what they're saying, and if he, you know, about his views on things and stuff like that. And I think that Chasing Amy gets a much worse rap than it deserves on a lot of fronts. I think there's a lot of stuff that maybe doesn't age super well in the movie, but it is a product of its time, and it was well loved back when it came out. This movie is the reason Alan Rickman did Dogma, like because he loved this movie. Everybody like loved this movie back then, and the funny thing is that like people change their opinion on this, reevaluating it when they see it again in, you know, 2025 or whenever, and that's fine. But to say like to say that Kevin Smith was you know, like, shame on Kevin Smith for making this movie or whatever back then, but not shaming yourself for loving it back then, like, it, both things are a product of what they were at the time, you know, like it's and I listen, I'm not straight. I am a queer man, but I am a man. And I am a cis man, and so like there are things in this that aren't going to that I'm not going to be able to identify, or some of the criticisms of it are not going to really have anything to do with who I am. So, but I will say that some of the criticisms I've seen, I'd like to hear what you think about that. Number one, one of the criticisms I hear about this movie is that lesbianism is the enemy of this movie, which I disagree with. I think that the enemy of this movie is a straight man's self-confidence. I think the problem with this movie is a straight man's inability to get over someone else having an experience that he has never had. And Kevin Smith will tell you that he wrote this because he was upset that his girlfriend had been to like Beijing or something. I don't remember where it was. Like it was somewhere to another country. Like I remember like he was upset that he wrote this as from an experience about that, where like that caused a rift in their relationship, that he couldn't get over this thing. And as a man, I have experienced that in my life too, particularly when I was a lot younger. Today, that's stuff like that's never going to bother me. When I was younger, that stuff did bother me. And I think that the villain of this movie is an insecure man. What do you think about that?
I mean, I guess I never really thought of it in terms of having a villain. I think the only person that I could see seeing it, I'm sorry, I forgot your verbiage for the criticism. What was it again?
I don't remember.
The only person who see lesbianism is the villain to me is Banksy.
Banky. Yes.
Banky, sorry.
Yes. I agree with that. Go on.
Yeah. I mean, if there is a villain, I think it's ignorance, if anything.
Right. Yes.
And insecurities, but.
Right. But I think the movie addresses that. I think the movie knows that is the problem. The problem is not that she's a lesbian or that she has had these experiences or that she's a woman or anything like that. The movie knows that the problem is Holden is inexperienced. He is insecure, and he does not have the tolerance for it.
Right.
and the movie makes that clear.
He just feels like he's not going to be enough because he's not done these things. Which
is very relatable, especially
Mhm.
to young men or young people in general. It's a very relatable thing. I remember in I think it is his first Q&A DVD, An Evening with Kevin Smith.
Love those.
Oh, me too. I could listen to that dude talk for hours, and if you ever hear him talk, you will hear him talk for hours. But he in his first one, a young lesbian woman got up to the thing and said, "Listen, I'm a lesbian. I want to know, do you really think that all a lesbian needs is a good deep dicking?" And he said, "Did you watch the movie? I think it's very clear that anything Banky says is wrong."
Right.
And I agree with that. I think
Yeah.
it's very clear that anything Banky says is wrong. I think that's one of the big criticisms I see of this movie, is that like lesbianism is the enemy or women are the enemy, and I just can't see that. If someone has a problem while they're watching it, if it makes them feel uncomfortable, and that makes them not enjoy the movie, I think that's fine. I don't think that is a reason the movie's bad. I think that's I think the movie is doing the right thing. But as I've said many times, if your interpretation of the movie makes you not enjoy it, that's completely fine. But to go after the filmmaker because of your interpretation of it, like, that is hard for me.
So
yeah,
I loved this movie when it came out. I had it on VHS. Like, I really loved it. And I hadn't seen it in a really long time. This is one of his movies that I hadn't revisited in quite a while. So watching it again, at first with a lot of it, I was like, was I just wrong? Was this not good? Like, there was a lot of stuff that didn't age well. And I was kind of like, geez, man, like, I always talk about how much I love Chasing Amy, and I'm not sure that I want to say that anymore. But then by the end, I thought it's such a good exploration of figuring out who you are and figuring out what's acceptable to you when she won't do it, even though she's done it before with the threesome, because, you know, that's not what she wants to be to him. And just the growth in what the characters are learning and exploring. I think, yes, it's done in somewhat crude ways at times, because Kevin Smith has a crude sense of humor. But I thought it was a really good message in the end. If you can cut through the beginning and a lot of the stuff that does seem not hasn't aged well. But yeah, in the end, I still really liked it. I do think the acting is a little forced, but that's not a separate issue.
I would say at times I agree with you on the acting. I think that a lot of them are caricatures, and that's kind of, and I think that's kind of what it's going for. Kev and Jay are both not good in this movie for the most part, just because neither of them are really actors at this point. This is each of their third movie, so it's like, and they're playing the exact same character. I would say that Joey and Ben have really good moments, especially like in the street when it's raining. That whole scene, it's so good. My favorite Ben Affleck performance of all time is in one of these movies we're going to talk about. It's not this one, but I think I agree with you for the most part on the acting. Hooper X is definitely a caricature. He's actually two different caricatures. He plays a caricature of a militant black man.
He's so funny. He's so perfect funny in the movie.
He is, and then he plays like this very gay caricature. But I think his confidence and the way that the things that he says and the way that he does things, I think that it's and again, I'm a white man, so I can't really say if this is done well. In my opinion, I think that that character is actually handled, which I was nervous about. I was nervous about going back in and going like, I really hope that Hooper X is handled as well as I remember. I think it's actually handled very, very well. And I think Alyssa is relatively well handled as well. I think if a woman, especially a gay woman, had been involved in that, it probably would have felt more natural. But I think from a straight 25-year-old man, this is
It
not
seemed a little bit like she wasn't really, I don't want to say she's not really gay. It seemed like she was more about the person. Like she was a little bit bi, like she tried stuff with guys that didn't work for her. So she tried stuff with girls and then she fell in love with a person.
Right. Well, and I agree. And that was one of the things that I was going to mention is that number one, there was kind of in the 90s, there was definitely a bi erasure. People like it was a very binary system. And that's not Kevin Smith's fault or anybody back then. It was just, that's the system that was kind of the culture back then. I would say today, if I were to evaluate that character earnestly, I would say she's probably pansexual, which is what I am, which is that she gender is irrelevant in who she has feelings for. In that she, like you said, she falls in love with a person, not a man and not a woman. She falls in love with a person. And I think I think that had this been made in 2025, that would be the clear message there, but it wasn't. It was made back when there was two things: you could either be straight or gay, and so it was. I think that was handled as well as a straight white man could handle that in 1997. But to what you were saying about by the time you got to the end, now I can definitely see all that, because as I'm starting to watch it, I'm like, gosh, this is a lot of the stuff that's being said in here feels very like hateful and but again, I'm watching, I'm like, but that's just kind of the way people talk back then, especially in a Kevin Smith movie, because he was known for his frankness in his dialogue. My Letterboxd review is, it's a product of his time, but I do think there is a message in it that endures, and I think that is true. Once you get to the end of this movie, Alyssa is never the victim in the situation. She always takes charge of her situation. She knows what she wants. She's the only person in the movie that knows what she wants. I think that I like that Banky is in this movie and in future movies definitely gay, but it would be handled differently today, because just because he seems gay doesn't mean that he's gay. Like there's a nuance that's there in that, but this one seems to say everyone knows it but you. And I'm like, that's probably the part that aged wrong. I think the fact that he was acting like that because he had those feelings does ring true. And I really like that as well. But yeah, so for me, Chasing Amy remains one of my favorite Kevin Smith films. It by the time you get to the end, I think for a while it does feel like it is a little hard to watch in the year of our Lord 2025, but by the end, I think it does do its job, which is you have to judge a movie for its whole self, not just the thing. So, but I think that, unless, do you have anything else to add about Chasing Amy?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so we're going to move on to Dogma, which is the reason I moved it to this, because this was originally going to be my 420 episode, but I moved it to here because they did Dogma re-release, because Kevin Smith just got the rights back to Dogma, which means that it's been re-released in theaters for a 25th anniversary, even though it's 26th. But they didn't have it when it turned 25. So now they do. It's been re-released in the theater. We'll hopefully be getting digital media on it now, or not even digital, physical media, but all of it. It'll be findable again. You won't just have to watch it on YouTube. I do have a DVD of it.
Mine was stolen. I had a collector's edition DVD back in the day, and it got stolen, and it was stolen before you couldn't find them. Like, I don't really know why someone took it. I'm like, of all the movies to take, you have to take the one I can never replace now.
Right. Yeah, that sucks. But I'm excited that we'll hopefully be getting a Blu-ray release of this. But I wanted to kind of use this as originally when I did that, I kind of want to use this as my review of the re-release. And my review of the re-release is, it's the same movie. It says it's in 4K. It looks the same. Oh, really? There is a 30-minute Q&A afterward in the theater, which is nice and enlightening. But again, because I've listened to Kevin Smith talk so much about all of his movies, there was only like one story that I hadn't heard. So like I was like, okay, so that's good. It still was incredible. Like just watching it in theater again. Sorry, this was the first time I saw it in theater. I didn't see it in theater the first time. So this is my first time seeing it in theater. Watching it was just amazing. I love Dogma. I grew up as a very, very Christian boy. And seeing Dogma, because I was when I the first time I saw it, I was still a Christian boy, but I was exploring the idea that I didn't have to be a good Christian boy. And so when I saw Dogma, I was like, this is the greatest movie about faith that's ever been made, because because here's the thing, this movie was blasted for, so like when it came out, like picketed and called blasphemous and stuff like that. This movie says more true things about faith than any Christian movie I've ever seen. Like there's so much in it that's really good and really faith affirming. Now I am no longer a Christian. I believe Kevin is no longer a Christian either, but for me at the time and for him at the time, this is a very faith affirming movie. Now that I'm not that, it doesn't change how I feel about it. In fact, it makes me feel better about a faith that I'm not even involved in, because I look at it and I'm like, gosh, if people just watched the message of this movie, the world would be a better place, even with religion in it. This is the movie I referred to earlier as my favorite Ben Affleck performance. That garage scene, that scene with Loki and Bartleby in the garage, when he's when Bartleby finally snaps and he's like, he loved them more than anyone and he created us first, and that whole thing, best performance he's ever given. It's so good. It moves me every time. But I've talked enough. Let me hear about you and Dogma. How do you feel about Dogma?
Well, I did see Dogma in the theater the first time.
Nice.
And unfortunately it's not playing in my regular theater right now, so I did not get to see the re-release yet. But I love Dogma. It's probably pretty easily my favorite Kevin Smith movie. As you've mentioned before, I'm a huge Matt Damon fan. It's probably, and like, this doesn't sound that high, but he's got like 100 movies. It's probably in my top 10 Matt Damon movies. I was raised Catholic, and by 1999, I was kind of interested in more Wiccan type stuff. I had also had it. I don't remember when this came out in 99, but I was either pregnant or had a newborn, and I still got my ass to the theater to see it.
Right.
That's how much I was like all about this movie. But yeah, like everything Chris Rock says on the train about people doing, wars in Jesus's name, and the problem is beliefs, not faith, and not ideas about faith. It's the different religions and how like strongly their beliefs are, and none of the religions are really right, and which I think Salma Hayek says later. But basically, like all of that, I just like really absorbed that at the time and was like, that's right. Like, I don't really have a problem with people believing in God or anything, really.
Right.
It's when you make that belief have to be the ultimate truth in your life, and then you do things based on that aren't always good.
Right. When your belief becomes anyone else's problem, that's the problem. Like,
and when Salma Hayek, another thing that I've always fallen back to, especially in like talking to family and stuff, when she talks about how the Bible's was through the eyes of older white men, and they wrote the stories they wanted to tell. So even if everything in there is true, and I'm not sitting here saying it is, but even if it is,
right,
it's still only those writers' perspective on things, and only those stories they picked and chose. It's not a whole picture. So yeah, the Jesus, after him, they had kids, like all of it just rings so true to me. If I'm going to go down the religion road,
No, yeah.
And it's fucking hilarious.
It is. I mentioned that this is my favorite Ben Affleck performance, but it's one of my favorite Alan Rickman performances.
Oh my God,
too.
yes.
He is so
good.
so good and so genuine and I don't know, there's just, and he's funny, and every moment he's on screen is just magic. That scene where he's walking on the water, coming over to talk to her, that scene is so beautiful. And a thing that Kevin had mentioned on in the Q&A afterward, this is the one that I didn't really he was talking about Rickman, and this is the one that I didn't really know. Part of that story was, he was like, there's a musical sting there's a musical moment during that scene while he's walking, that years later, when I was watching the Fellowship of the Ring, I realized that Howard Shore had stolen from himself, because Howard Shore did the music for Dogma, stolen from himself, because that musical moment is also in Fellowship of the Ring. And I was like, that's so cool. Because really you and I are both huge Lord of the Rings fans too. So, which, spoiler alert, everyone, she will be back for Lord of the Rings at some point.
I didn't know that, but I'm very excited about it.
Well, you'd forgotten because you did. But anyway.
Okay. That does happen quite a bit.
But he is so good. Chris Rock is also one of his best performances too. Yeah. He's
Everybody really is great in it.
And it's been said before, but it's true that this is probably Jason Mewes' best performance he's ever done. Like, and the reason, and Kevin has talked about this many times, is that when he found out Alan Rickman was going to be in it, and he had to do that, there were going to be real actors there, he went and not only memorized his lines, but the whole script.
Yeah, I think I have heard that story before as well. Yeah, and it's the first time Jay and Silent Bob are really their own characters. Like, they're not just kind of on the periphery being goofy or whatever. Like, they're in it throughout. They have their own things to do and say or not say. And it, I think, really is what was the catalyst for, them doing their own thing.
Right. Yeah. And I agree. They have a lot more to do in this, because they are, in the other ones, they are the side characters. They are just these. They are the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of those movies, where they're just kind of in the background. And they show up every once in a while. It's funny because in Chasing Amy, Ethan Suplee goes up to Holden and says that he loves Blunt Man and Chronic. They're like Bill and Ted meet Cheech and Chong. And Holden replies, I actually like to think of them as Rosencrantz and Guildenstern meet Vladimir and Estragon, which Vladimir and Estragon are from Waiting for Godot. And the reason I mentioned that here is because they were Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in the first 3 movies. In this one, they become Vladimir and Estragon, because Vladimir and Estragon are the main characters of Waiting for Godot. They're just a pair of people who just keep coming in contact with people. And so that's kind of, so I think that was a very apt thing for Holden to say, because that's how this feels, is that it makes him that. Anyway, that's enough of me saying a bunch of names. So the design of this movie is so good also, because one thing that's really cool is if people may not notice, because it's a design thing, but all of the angels wear hoodies, and the reason they wear hoodies is because those represent their halos, which I think is the coolest thing. Plus, it looks really cool. And just someone had called it. Vera Drew, who directed The People's Joker, called it biblical Wizard of Oz, which I think is completely. I think that's so good.
Yeah, the church in Jersey is the Emerald City. Yeah.
I think that it's completely apt, and I think that it covers that. Now, if anybody who's watching this hasn't seen Dogma, I recommend just skipping to the next thing, because I don't want to ruin anything for you about what I'm about to say. So go ahead and skip now. But once it gets to that ending, and Alanis Morissette is God, I, even though I've seen this movie dozens of times, it's still, I still love that moment when she comes out and it's this, because she's this idea of God that I wish was real if I believed
Yeah.
in a God. This kind of quirky, uh, 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 gentle person who, because I love that moment where she hugs Bartleby right before she blows his head off.
Mhm.
And then while everybody's talking, she's going around doing handstands and
Yep.
looking at flowers.
And the
Like,
poop. I love the poop.
uh, yeah, I love her as God, and she comes up later again at the end of there's a post credits moment in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back
Mhm.
where she closes the book, basically signifying we're done with Jay and Silent Bob for a little while.
Mhm.
But Kev has always said, but the bookmark is about halfway through. So he always knew he'd go back to them, but that was the idea, was that they were done with Jay and Bob for a while. But yeah, I love her at the idea that she is God in this movie. The casting is just great across the board. I really love this movie, and I think that the message in it, just like with Chasing Amy, endures. I think that more people need to see this movie. It's why I'm so glad that it's available again.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
because apparently, I was watching Kevin talk about it, and apparently, Weinstein. The reason it was not available is because Weinstein, even though it was made by Miramax, Weinstein bought it himself rather
Right.
than Miramax buying it. So Weinstein actually owned it, and the reason he did that is so that he could basically take the, I guess to take the liability off the company and just put it on him or something like that. I don't know what the situation was exactly, but he bought it himself, and Kev has been trying to buy it back for a long time, and every time he come with a number, Weinstein's reps would say no, he doesn't want that. He got Ben and Matt together and was like, and I think this was like fairly recently too, like 2020 or something. He got Ben and Matt together with him, and he said, and they collected money. They put their money together and said, "This is what we can offer you from us." And they said, "No, that's still not enough." And it turned out what he wanted was something like 5 million. And Kev was like, "Well, if I had 5 million, I'd just make a movie." Like, so so he didn't want to do that. So there's I don't remember the person's name, but there was like a third person another person, an outside person who came in and purchased it so that they could get it back, like
That's
gave the
awesome.
money that was needed.
Whoever that person is, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for getting this back into our hands and out of his hands, because we don't want Weinstein making money off this beautiful film. So yeah, so I think this is I love this movie. Kevin has said he's making a Dogma 2. Which he said he's announced a lot of movies because he doesn't necessarily make, and because if you saw the end of this movie, the end of Dogma, at the end of Dogma, it says Jay and Silent Bob will return in Clerks 2, still clerking. But that movie didn't happen. I mean, it eventually happened, but the movie that he's talking about did not happen. And then at the end of there's something at the end of something, he was at the end of Mallrats it says Jay and Silent Bob will return in Dogma, and then at the end of Chasing Amy it says I don't remember what, but at the end of this it says it will return in Clerks 2, it's still clerking. So he has announced a lot of movies over the years that haven't necessarily been made. So maybe this won't happen, but he did announce that he's making a Dogma 2, which I think is cool if he has something to say with it. Bartleby and Loki are both dead. However,
we did see Loki again.
We did see, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes, that's true. Well, because I was going to say,
I know, forget.
yeah, of course. It's funny because at the end, when God fixes everything, like basically brings everyone back to life, it clears the street. Bartleby and Loki are not there either. So I have a feeling that might have had something to do with it. Of course, she would have had to have intended it, or we would fall into another God can't make a mistake situation.
Right.
But I imagine that's going to be how he gets those characters back in. I don't know. But that does excite me. But we've talked about this for a long time. Do you have anything else to add about Dogma before we move on?
Just if for some reason you're watching this and you didn't see Dogma yet, just find it and see it.
Please
in the
watch
theater, preferably if it's near you.
Yeah, absolutely. Co-sign 100%. I keep hitting the thing. If you haven't seen it and you ignored my warning about spoilers before, forget everything I said about it. Just go watch the movie because it's very good and it says a lot.
And it's something you can watch just over and over. It
Yeah,
does not. It never gets old. But
absolutely.
I could gush forever. So you should move
sure.
on.
Okay, so we're going to move on a few years to 2004 when he made his shift from the Askewniverse, and this was kind of this was his next big career change because he had made Jane Silent Bob Straight Back, he was putting Askewniverse behind, View Askew behind, and moving on to other things. And this is the other one that people call his first grown-up movie, which is, comes up, Jersey Girl.
Mm-hmm.
I have always loved Jersey Girl. I know that people that there's a division. Some people love it, some people hate it. Even Siskel and Ebert at the time, or was it? Ebert and Roper, because Siskel was already dead. Ebert and Roper gave it a thumbs down. Ebert gave it a thumbs up. Roper gave it a thumbs down. So it's very divided on it. For me, I've always loved this movie. I think it is great. I think people conflate it with Gigli, which is a terrible movie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It had the curse of Bennifer, the first iteration of Bennifer, and she's in so little, really. Right. Like, it has no bearing on the movie, but it did get conflated with that, and that is a bad movie. So
that is a bad movie. What's funny is that I remember Kevin telling a story a while back about how Jennifer was in more of the movie originally, and then they broke up, and Harvey was like, "Get her out of there," and so he had to cut more. He had to cut scenes out of her. I think if she had been in a little bit more, people might not have. I don't know. Maybe they would have liked it a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe not because of the Bennifer thing. I don't know. I feel like maybe if her character was a little more fleshed out, it would feel like there was more of a reason for her to be there. But I still think she has a reason. I still think that she. I think the amount we get her is just fine. Anyway, I've always really loved this movie. I remember seeing it in theater as soon as it came out on DVD. I bought it, and that's it. How do you feel about this movie? What's your history with?
Well, I did see it in the theater. I don't think I love it as much as you. I definitely don't dislike it. I think it is better than it's given credit for. It's fairly well documented. I'm not a rom-com kind of gal.
Yeah.
And it is very much a rom-com. But it does have some great moments. I think all the performances are good. I don't know the name of the actress that plays the little girl, but she's great.
Raquel something. I'll find out.
Look it up. Anyway, I think it's fun. It's a fun little enjoyable, feel-good rom-com movie. Like
Raquel Castro. I knew it was a name last name I recognized. It's Raquel Castro. All right, sorry. Yes, I agree. I think it's a fun rom-com. I think it's funny. I think that it is.
It is funny. I will agree that it has some very funny moments.
I think that it is, as we mentioned, I think it is underrated for stupid reasons. That's not to say it's among his best. Like I'd rather probably watch a Askewniverse movie, any of them, over this. But it is a movie that I think has a lot of value. There's also a funny thing, and it's just something that I've noticed is that when this was much of the world. If you aren't a Broadway person, this was much of the world's first experience with Sweeney Todd. And which is a really funny bit throughout the movie, is that. But this was probably for non-Broadway people's first introduction to the idea of Sweeney Todd. Later, Tim Burton would make a Sweeney Todd movie. Tim Burton and Kevin Smith had a famous falling out before this. Well before this. I don't know how they are now, but they famously had a falling out. They a lot of stuff was said about each other. It's whatever. But what I think is funny is that the song that they do on stage in this, "God That's Good," is almost entirely cut out in Sweeney Todd the movie, and I feel like that was on purpose.
Knew he couldn't do a better job.
But yeah, so this is a movie I enjoy. I think that the chemistry between Ben and the girl is very good. I think that the romance that's there is backburner anyway, so that doesn't have as much chemistry for me as the rest of it. But it is backburner. The main love story there is about a man and his daughter. So I think that works really well. I think that the side characters are all very funny. George Carlin, who is also in Dogma, is in this. He's funny in both. I think he's really great in this. There's something very relatable. You as a parent probably can relate as well to, although I've never said this to my kid, when he blows up at his daughter and is like, "I hate you right back, you little shit. You took your mom from me." Right. I've never said that, and I don't relate to that. And I've never hated my kid or whatever. But that moment feels so relatable, saying a thing or doing a thing that you can't take back because it's in the air. Sure. As a parent, that feels so real. And you could tell that comes from a person who, and the reason his movies are different probably at this point, because he's a different person, because he now has a wife and kids, or wife and kid. But that moment feels very, very true. And what feels just as true is couple scenes later when he goes into her room and he's like, "I'm so sorry I said that," and she's like, "It's okay, I love you." Like, all of that feels very, very true. You can hurt someone that quickly, but a kid will forgive you, and that's good and bad in some situations. But in that situation, it's very beautiful, and I really love that. The Will Smith thing at the end, when I saw this in theater, was the whole crowd in my theater laughed and cheered. Like, that was such a cool moment. Great. Yeah. I wonder if he always had Will Smith in mind at the time, or if he had to like change that opening part to whatever. I don't know. I've never heard that part of the story, but to see him there at the end, that's it was very funny. A funny thing that happened years later is that someone in an interview was talking about Kevin Smith, and Jada Pinkett had no idea who he was. It was like, "I don't know who Kevin Smith is." It's like, "It's made Jersey Girl." It's like, I haven't seen Jersey Girl.
Of course.
Your husband is in Jersey Girl. But yeah, that whole bit is,
she's on her own plane of existence, I swear to God. So
well, and there's something just that's, with the exception of Kevin Smith, who is the best Kevin Smith expert on earth. With the exception of Kevin Smith, most creative people are not as into their creations as their audience is. You can tell most creators about their thing, a thing that they have no idea about, because they are not nearly as into they don't know their product nearly as well as we do. So that has to be the same too. Like, Will Smith's done so many movies, like, she can't be expected to have watched all of them or remember everything. So that makes sense. It's just a little funny thing. But Stephen Root and Mike Starr, who play the uncles that are not, those men are not your uncles.
Hey, I love those men are not your uncles bit. Like, those men are not your uncles. Like, every time, it's so good.
Yeah, they're very funny. Speaking of Stephen Root, because Stephen Root is in a lot of Kevin Smith movies, so is Ben Affleck, and it reminded me that I realized something while I was watching these movies, going through it. Of the 5 movies we watched, do you know which one actor was in the most of them? It's not Stephen Root, even though he is in a couple. I'll just tell you.
Just of the 5. Okay, go ahead.
Of the 5 movies that we watched.
Yeah, you can tell me.
In all of them, it's funny because
me ruminate isn't good YouTube TV.
It's funny because it may seem like someone. Because it may seem like someone that we don't know, like this background person, but it's actually someone that most of us probably have known about our entire lives, and that is, with the exception of Chasing Amy, Betty Aberlin has been in all 4 of these movies. She was also in Zack and Miri Make a Porno, so she was in all 4 of these, and that the reason she's been in all of our lives for so long is because she was Lady Aberlin on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the only human in the King Friday scenarios. So she was that for like 30 years. And then since then has been in 5 Kevin Smith movies, basically. But she's in 4 of the 5. She's in Jersey Girl. She's the teacher, the one who's presenting the stuff. That's her, and she plays Belly's mom in 4:30 movie. She's one of the daughters in Red State. Anyway, she's great, and I just realized as I'm watching, I'm like, by the time I'm getting to Jersey Girl, I was like, she's been in
all of them.
Like, I'm like, it's crazy. But yeah, but that is all I have to say about Jersey Girl. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Let's move on to his next big career shift, which was, I think, both a good and bad move for him. I'll talk about the bad move in a moment, but that is Red State, which because he wanted to make a horror movie, a movie that was not a comedy. He had this idea for it because he has a famous feud with the Phelps family, Fred Phelps and his brood of family members which is what the family in this movie is based on. He's a famous feud with them, so he decided to make a horror movie based on that. But then when he took it to Sundance, and he said, "I'm going to sell it in the room via auction at Sundance." And so the auction started. He said $1, and whoever, I don't remember who was his auctioneer, said sold, and he sold it to himself for $1. Which made everyone angry, particularly the people in the room who were only there to buy this movie.
Oh my God.
And then he took it out on the road, roadshow style, which that was his first time that he did that. He does that with all of his movies now.
Yes,
but this was his first roadshow movie. So then he took it out on the road, which is nice, because when you watch it in a roadshow, you get a Q&A. Yep. You know, where you get to hear from Kevin Smith. It's all that.
Oh, you get a lot of hearing from Kevin Smith.
Yes.
It's a reboot on a roadshow.
Yeah.
I can say that, I swear. Yeah. So you get to hear a lot.
So that's great. However, it did hurt the film's visibility, and the only reason that really matters a lot, because again, his stuff does better on home video anyway, so it was always going to do better after the fact anyway. The reason that that's a problem, in my opinion, is that Michael Parks gives probably the best performance of 2011, but because the release was so mishandled, really, and that whole thing went down, no one talked about him.
Right.
He won like one award at a festival. Other than that, nothing. And like, that dude could have won an Oscar for this role. He's so good in this movie. Twin Peaks star, or well, he's not a star, but he plays Jean Reno. In that, Jean Reno. That's not right. Yeah, Jean Reno. That's also the name of an actor. So as I said it out loud, I was like, that's not right.
I'm not great with names. So
yeah, the guy who kidnapped Audrey. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's in Twin Peaks. But yeah, he's fantastic in this movie. He played Abel Cooper, the preacher.
Yeah.
He's so good
He
in this
was really
movie.
good.
This is a movie I really like. I understand a lot of criticism about this is how messy it is. I understand that. But I still think I still think it's a very good movie. I think it's a really good horror movie for the first half, and then this really good not as good action movie after, but still very good. I think John Goodman's one of my favorite actors ever, so him being in it was just a plus for me. Melissa Leo just came off an Oscar when she did this, and I think she's very good. Some people say she overacts in it. I think she doesn't. I think she's very good. Ben Affleck, Kevin gave him a reel of this. This is during the time when they weren't talking, because while he was with the second Jennifer, his second of three, I guess he wasn't allowed to see Kevin Smith anymore. I don't know. Which is weird because they were in a movie together.
Behind the scenes stuff about something Kevin said that he shouldn't have said publicly.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole feud that went on way too long.
Yeah.
But it's all better now.
It's better now, which is awesome. Anyway, so they weren't really like friends at the time, but gave him a copy of Red State to see, a reel, I think, gave him like a film reel of Red State to watch. But this was while he was casting Argo. That's why half the cast of Argo is from Red State.
That's so good.
So tell me about Red State.
I really like Red State, and I think it's a very interesting watch with Dogma, because we have two different types of religious fanaticism and two very different looks at it. For a long time, I didn't realize it was a Kevin Smith movie. I came to it much later, 2011. I did not see much in theaters at all, unless it was for little kids. So I didn't catch this one in theaters. But when I finally watched it at home, I was kind of blown away. The pace of this movie, it seems almost too fast, but it's not. But it just keeps and slowly builds this kind of frenetic pace.
I was going to use the word frenetic. Yes.
Yeah, and it's so good, and it's nice sometimes to have it just be like a bullet of a movie and not have to have everything so stretched out. And we don't need to know the kids' life stories before this or their hopes and dreams. Like, it's fine.
Right. And you get everything you need from just their interactions.
Exactly. And it doesn't, that they're not people that deserve that, what happens to them.
Right.
And that's all you need to know. I really like it a lot. I think it is horrifying because there are people that are super crazy religious fanatics. And it's horrifying what happens when ATF shows up. Like, that part is like, oh my God.
That's one thing that's one thing I really love about this movie, is that it is an indictment on both church and state.
Yep. It very much is. And,
these are the
And I like a non-happy ending. I like it when movies will go there.
Yeah.
So, I really like it a lot. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad he did a detour in tone and did it.
Yeah, I agree. I really like this movie as well. Even though I think there are parts that are messy, particularly in the last half. I think you're absolutely right. The pacing is so frenetic that it's very good. Like, the pacing works really well, even if it doesn't feel like it's always. It's kind of unsettling, the pacing of it. Those three kids. I think they're great. Michael Argarano, is that how you say his name? I don't remember how to say his name. He's great. He went on to do things. He was in Sky High, which Dylan and I just covered on Frame Rec. Nicholas Braun, who ended up being on Succession.
I knew I recognized.
Also in Sky High.
I knew it. I was like, oh my God, I know that guy from somewhere. I know him from somewhere. And I didn't IMDb it or look it up because I think, I don't know, I might have been tired. Might have been late when I don't remember. But yeah, that's exactly it.
And Kyle Gallner, who As a Smallville and Veronica Mars fan, I knew Kyle Gallner, so he was not really like a surprise to me or anything like that. But he's so good that I'm always happy when he shows up and things. But they're all really good. The Church family is all basically all of them are just really good. You really hate them. Like the movie does not give you, except for the one daughter who is obviously meant to be a Megan Phelps, who Megan Phelps now has left the church. But at the time when this was made, she hadn't. But her and Kevin had a very playful Twitter rivalry, frenemy situation going on. So it's very clear that that's who that's meant to be. And it's really cool that she's left the church now and has gone on other things, because that was a very toxic situation for her. Anyway, with the exception of her, you don't really get, you don't feel much for the church, because they are awful human beings, with the exception of the kids, which is important because that's one of the things. It's like, but there are kids in there. Which I think is great. Ralph Garman, who plays Melissa Leo's husband and the blonde girl's dad, who doesn't speak in the movie. He's
Kevin or something is his name, I think. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I just remember it was one of those horrible religious names that, when somebody has that name, you don't want to hang out with that person.
Right, exactly. I don't remember what his name was, but he doesn't speak at all in the movie. And a funny story about that is that because Ralph Garman is the co-host of Hollywood Babylon with Kevin Smith, the podcast. He's also like a voice actor. Like he's on Family Guy. He's done a lot of stuff. He was a radio guy for a long time. He might still be. I don't know. Anyway, Kevin gives him the script, and that character has like 2 lines. And Ralph was like, 2 lines? How about no lines? And so they took out the lines, which makes him so much scarier. He's not in it for very long because he's the first of that brood to die, but he's very scary without the lines. So I think that was a very good choice. That whole cast is really good. Another just a little quick thing. Kevin, apparently he had at some point said there are something like 12 hidden secrets in the movie. Some number.
Oh, geez.
I don't know what they are. I just know what the first one is because he did reveal it. And that is that Stephen Root's character, the sheriff, enters and leaves the movie with a shot to the head. Because he starts the movie. Which I think is very, very funny. We're going to move on unless you have anything else about Red State.
The only other thing I would say is I think that this might get overlooked a lot because a lot of Kevin Smith fans are like View Askew fans. And I just want to encourage people, if you haven't checked it out, to check it out, because it is really good and it's a quick movie. You'll feel like it's an hour and a half, and just give it a shot.
I agree. If you haven't seen it, skip to the next one. There's chapters in here. I remembered one thing I was going to say. The first time I watched it, when it got to the end, I was a little disappointed, and here's why. Because when we had first put this out, he had said that it was unlike anything he had made, and he kept calling it a Tarantino movie by way of the Coen brothers, which I think is pretty apt. However, when it gets to the end and those trumpets start blaring, I was like, he's about to do the rapture. And I was like, that's exactly what the Coen brothers will do.
Are so good.
He mentioned the Coen brothers, like that's exactly what the Coen brothers do. I'm so excited. And then that doesn't happen. I was like, oh, that's a little disappointing. He tells a story later, years later. He's telling a story about that. He said originally, in that scene when Abel steps up close to him and is like shoot me, instead of it headbutting him, a flaming sword goes through his chest because there's an angel behind him, and then just like this slaughter of all these people by these angels because the rapture is happening, apparently is what the idea is. And then he gave it to his friend Malcolm and said, read this. He's like, it's great, except the ending. is this $100 million movie? He's like, no, I got $4 million. He's like, you need to change the ending. He's like, oh man, I just wish that existed somewhere. I love the way it ends now. I just wish that version existed somewhere. In an alternate universe, I'm sure it does. I need to visit that universe. Anyway, so we can move on from there to the final movie. And this was, and I promised I always do a first watch if I can. And there happens to be, despite how much I love Kevin Smith, one first watch in here because it's one that I hadn't seen because it just came out last year. This is the first watch for you as well, right?
It was. His movies tend to only come out now as like the Fathom releases. Yeah. And I don't think, well, I know I didn't get to this one. I'm not even sure if it came to me.
Yeah, it didn't come near me either. But the movie is the 4:30 movie. But yeah, it didn't come near me either. And I know that our mutual friend Corey had seen it originally, but neither of us had seen it at the time. And it wasn't because I was avoiding everything. I just never got around to it. So when it's time to do this, I was like, well, we have to do this because I haven't seen it. But also, it's just
perfect excuse to rent it.
Right. It also kind of encapsulates this roadshow portion of his life. I mean, Red State was that, but it was the first one, so that wasn't his like original intention. This is kind of like he's always done what he wanted, but now it's just kind of like he's like, this is what I'm going to do next, and because he doesn't have to depend on releases or studios.
I mean, pretty much after Tusk, like once he did Tusk, it was like, oh, he gives zero fucks now. He's just doing whatever he wants.
Yeah. Okay, so 4:30 movie. There, as a massive Kevin Smith fan who's heard him talk, who's heard him tell stories, who's heard him do, like I said before, for a while, everything he wrote, said, or made, I was there. So when I saw the trailer for this, there were certain things that I was like, oh, this is about Kevin Smith. Because number one, in the trailer for this, and it's in the movie as well, he's talking to his tape recorder. There was a long thing on his podcast, Smodcast, where every time Mosier wouldn't be there for the recording, he would play these tapes that he called Emo Kev, because it was just young Kevin talking into a recorder about sad things. And he would play them and kind of comment on them. And when you see him doing that recording, it's like, oh, that's Emo Kev. But it's so the trailer, I was like, all right, I know I'm gonna enjoy this. And there was a lot of it that I was like, I've heard this story. As soon as I see it, I'm like, I've heard this story. But that didn't take anything away from it. This movie was made for me. As a former child cinephile, as a current adult cinephile, lover of Kevin Smith, and as a filmmaker who hasn't made my film yet, this movie was everything. I thought I would like it because it was Kevin Smith. I didn't know I'd feel like a kid seeing myself on screen for the first time. Like, that's how it felt. This movie was everything to me. So before I gush more about it, I want to hear how you felt about your first watch.
Yeah, I think it's something that I really liked it. I think I probably would love it if I watched it, if I had, more time with it and watched it more times. But as someone who grew up in the 80s and got all of those references, as someone who did always love movies since I was about 3 when I saw E.T. for the first time, it was so relatable, and it was so fun and funny and cute. And I thought that the girl who played Melody was just absolutely adorable. Very good, yeah. And and it did, like, I guess I probably don't know or don't remember because my brain has ejected quite a lot of information over the years. But I didn't know how much of it was autobiographical from stories he's told, but it just read so autobiographical anyway. Like, you don't have to know those stories to see that it's Kevin Smith.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I say some of the stories, I was like, okay, I've heard this. It's not that every moment of the movie was like, oh, this happened. I don't know if he had a feud with a theater worker. I do know that his two best friends were Mike Bellicose and Ernie O'Donnell. And and one of them was named Bernie O'Donnell, and the other one was named Belly. So those are definitely those two guys.
Yeah. It felt like a fictionalized version of his childhood.
Yeah, basically. But there was so much. So the kid who plays him is his daughter Harley's fiance. Like, yeah.
Okay.
And because he plays the Elias's like little friend
his
in
like
part
sidekick.
3. Yeah, like he plays that character as well. Yeah, I thought he was so good. I thought all of the references. Yeah, obviously I got all the references. I would say that there's anything, if I can critique anything, it's that there were too many. No one will ever hate Bill Cosby jokes, or no, not Bill Cosby, but whatever the thing was. Like, they'll never do this in a movie. They'll never like
Star
too
Wars
many
stuff.
of the like.
It was the Star Wars stuff that really was like driving it in.
Yeah, there was a little bit too much of that, but I also didn't care because I loved every one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know, just like everything about this felt. And this is it's part of it because the reason I fell in love with Kevin Smith is because I saw so much of myself in him, or him in myself, or whichever way it happened. And to see this, it was like I recognize this. When the parts where like when they're like she says, I can't see Poltergeist 2 with you. She said, is it because Toby Hooper didn't make it?
Right.
She's like, who's Toby Hooper? I felt that in my bones because that was me. It's still me because my wife doesn't know shit about movies. I shouldn't say that. She does. She doesn't know movies the way I know movies. So sometimes I'll be like, it's a movie with, it's this director or this actor in it. And she's like, I don't know who that is. I was like, I know, just wait and I'll tell you.
Adding one to the end of the first movies
oh
in
yeah
a series, I was like, oh god, that is so annoying. Like I could see how that would just really, really get on your nerves.
Yeah. And so much of it just felt very relatable, and I think it will to most, even if you didn't grow up the way I did, even if you don't relate to Kevin Smith the same way. I think film fans will find this very, very relatable. I think Janice, you were right. The girl who played the love interest was so good. The kids were all really good. Genesis Rodriguez, who played the usher who tells him the thing at the end, like you haven't made your movie yet, that thing.
Yeah.
She's also very good. She was the best part, not one of the best parts of Tusk. She played the girlfriend who was sleeping with Haley Joel Osment.
Yes.
She's very, very good in that movie. She was also very good in this. I think the chemistry between the two leads was incredible. I never felt like I was. I don't know how to say this. I never felt like I needed to roll my eyes at these two kids who were making eyes at each other. Like it never felt like that. I thought their chemistry was very good, and it all worked very, very well. But yeah, so I don't have any much specific to say outside of I love this movie a lot. Do you have anything to add about this movie?
No, like we said, we just both watched it for the first time, so there's a lot less of resonating and settling in my brain, and what's the word? Being analyzed in my brain. So I don't have a ton more to say, but it's really good. It's worth at least a rental, and it's fun, and they are great. It just feels everything is very natural. The acting is very natural in it. And yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with. I feel the same. Like all I know is I liked it. I don't know that I have that I can really analyze it a lot. I will say that people watching this, if you love movies, this movie loves movies too, and so it's going to speak to you in some way.
Movies and you remember the 80s, I think it's definitely for you.
Yeah, I love that. One more thing about it, I love the way that they didn't use real movie names as far as the movies that were actually playing there, but you could see the posters, or you could see kind of what they were about, and you could tell what they were based on, like the Bucklick or whatever that thing is. You saw the poster; it was definitely Fletch. which I thought that was really cool and really funny. Also, the third movie, because there was the Astro Blaster, which is obviously like Flash Gordon.
Right.
There was
His
Bucklick, which was Fleck.
dental school.
And the third one was Dental School, which is actually a in joke from Clerks, because in Clerks, Dental School is the movie that people keep asking him about. In Clerks, he's like, "Have you seen Dental School?" It's like, "Yeah, it sucks," like, or whatever. Like, is that? But yeah, Dental School is the movie that people keep asking about in Clerks. So that's a fun little trilogy of movies that or threesome of movies that are playing at the theater. But all right, well, I think we're gonna leave the 4:30 movie there. It's been so good having you, Stacy, but we have one more thing to talk about, and that is the preview of week 23. And it's something we both know a little bit about. Actually, we both know a little bit about part of it, not so much about the main thing, which is Father's Day is coming up. So I'm going to be watching movies about great or terrible movie dads. You and I might know a thing or two about one of those things.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to watch movies with memorable TV dads, whether they're great or terrible. But yeah, Stacy, tell people where they can find you if you want to, or
I mean, these days I'm not around much. I haven't been on social media much at all, but I am Stacy LM78 on most social media. And I pop up on here. This is my first appearance in quite a while, I think, but I will be back. And you should go back, and if you like me, you should go back, and if you haven't seen the other stuff I did, or watch it again. That's great too. And yeah, and I also pop up over on the Dill Pickle Movie Network. He's kind of, scaled back a lot because he's got a big job in real life right now. But again, go back and watch some of the old stuff. It's still good. And I will be back on there when he's back to his regularly scheduled programming.
Yep. Stacy will be back on this channel this month, assuming we don't reschedule again, because we've been trying to do this since like April, March even. But you'll see her again then. Talk to me in the comments. Tell me, what are your favorite Kevin Smith movies? What are some memorable TV dads? Your favorite great or terrible movie? I said TV earlier. I meant movie. Movie dads. Talk to me in the comments. Thanks.